Hey guys, what's going on? It's Huggable Hipster here, and welcome back to today's Tea Talk, the first Tea Talk of the year, where we are discussing and interviewing a up-and-coming writer, my good friend Lex H. Jones. He is a very good writer. You guys absolutely love his stuff, but that will be at the end of the Tea Talk today. Today, for the first part of the Tea Talk, we're only going to be very brief because the interview is not lengthy, but it is a little bit long. So, for the first thing I'm going to discuss with you guys is the Nintendo Switch. Have you guys heard about it? Are you guys absolutely loving the release date on this? It's for March 3rd, and it is going to be a whopping $299.99. I'm just really excited for the fact that Nintendo is coming out with new capabilities, new technologies, just new everything that's going to make gaming more fun for the up-and-coming generations, because the Nintendo Switch is basically the Nintendo that we all know and love, but it has the capability to connect to a television so you can actually play like you're using a controller, which I think is absolutely wonderful. Now, it will be launching with a mini game alongside it called 1-2 Switch, and it aims to show like some of the different capabilities that it has as a gaming console, if you want to even call it that, because technically it is. You're attaching it to your TV. It can't be attached to your computer, at least I don't think so. I'll have to look it up and then let you guys know. Also, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild is going to be for this, and I can't wait to see what the visuals are going to be like. Now, from what I'm hearing from whispers of the wind somewhere, that at different GameStops you can actually go and get the Nintendo Switch at 5 a.m. when it launches. Now, you didn't hear this from me, but I just keep hearing about it all over the freaking place. So you might as well get there at like extremely ass o'clock in the morning the day of pre-order on March 3rd. So go to your local Nintendo, pre-order it, order it, whatever you guys have to do, because I'm not going to be ordering the thing. I'm not really the person to go out on the day of anything, unless it's something Resident Evil related, unless it's something that I am diehard passionate about, like I was about Twilight. Don't tell anybody. I'm not gonna go out at like 5 o'clock in the morning and get it. So yeah, like I said, if it's Resident Evil, I'll go out at like 12 o'clock, 4 o'clock, anytime. You got me. Also, I want to be able to share with you guys some YouTubing news, something absolutely wonderful that has come out from YouTube right now. That is, the trending page has absolutely changed, which it's for the better. Keep in mind, this is a changing system. YouTube is a living, breathing organism right now that is going to be always forever changing. They made the trending page right now for up-and-coming YouTubers, which I think is absolutely wonderful. Thank you. Bravo to YouTube. Bravo to YouTube. I think it's really cool that YouTube is making these changes, and you know what? Guaranteed that there will be a lot of YouTubers who have been around for a while, like Shane Dawson, you know, Trisha Paytas, like all of the big name YouTubers will still be on the trending page, but you're going to see a lot of newer names on the trending page, and I think it's really, really cool. So, I mean, you know, if you guys want to see me on the trending page sometime, just, I mean, you know, push the like button. I mean, also, people shouldn't be asking people to push the like button. I mean, yeah, I tell you guys to attack the like button, but, you know, it really doesn't mean anything if you just like the like button. It's not going to make one hell of a difference for me. It just lets me know that you guys actually enjoy the video, so it lets me know that I can create more videos similar to that kind of content. Yeah, I just think it's cool because the only prerequisite that you have to have in order to be on the trending page is having 1,000 subscribers or over. So let's say you like my channel and you want to see my stuff on the trending page, I would be eligible because I have a little bit over 1K right now. So we are almost at 2K, by the way. Just saying. No, not 2K, that would be amazing. We're almost at 1,200 subscribers, which I think is absolutely amazing. Oh my, you guys are absolutely wonderful. Like, just so many huggable hugs, huggable hipster hugs. But with that being said, let's get on to the interview. I am really, really excited because Lex actually offered to do the interview for the channel. I'm thinking in the future, once I get more money invested into the Tea Talks, I want to interview more YouTubers. I want to get to interview Casey Neistat. I want to get to interview just all sorts of YouTubers. So I think that will be something very, very awesome in the near future that's going to be happening. You guys will be getting more interviews with more people who are either writers, musicians, YouTubers, whatnot. Also, by the way, side note of awesomeness, guess who is getting Huggable Hipster copywritten. This girl right here. So, you guys, this is going to be officially a copywritten name. See that right there? That's gonna be copywritten. Nobody try to take that because it's gonna be copywritten. I've had a couple of people asking me, oh, can I use the name for a project? Can I use the name for this? And what I'm finding is I have to protect it. So that's why it's going to be copywritten. It's not an offense to anybody who wants to use the name. It's just for my own protection. So on to the interview. I will see you guys afterwards. Hey guys, what's going on? It's your Huggable Hipster here in another form because you saw me guys in the other camera. Now we're on this camera right now. But say hi to Lex Jones. He is an author and he published 2 books right now. He has published the US versus UK horror, and he has also published Nick and Abe, which are on Amazon right now. I have the links and the pictures right here if you guys want to go check them out. They will also be in the description below. So how are you today, Lex?
Hi, I'm good, thank you. Yeah, and you?
I'm doing good. I got some questions for you over here that'd be awesome. So I'm curious, what started your interest in writing horror type things?
Um, well, I've always liked horror. I like reading it, and my general sort of rule for writing is I like to write the kind of thing that I read. I heard an author say quite a long time ago that you should write the sort of thing you're interested in, because if you're not passionate about writing it, then that'll come through for anyone reading it. So, I just generally write the sort of thing I like to read.
Like, what kind of things would you like to read that kind of would procure inspiration for, like, okay, I want to have this kind of style of writing whenever I know about it?
I quite like really old horror, to be honest. Poe is an obvious example, but I also like M.R. James is one of my favourites, and Arthur McCann and that kind of thing, because I like the subtlety of it. I'm not a fan of sort of modern horror where everything's like really full on and in your face, and you know what the plot is, and you've seen the full monster or whatever 10 minutes into the book. I'm not bothered about that. I like the subtlety where you get to the end and you sort of think, oh, so it was that. So
Yeah, exactly.
I just prefer that.
Because it takes, like, nowadays I feel like it takes the element of surprise out of everything.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's like the last sort of 5 horror films that I've seen sort of delve into that, where the plot is really thin and the only surprises come from jump scares as opposed to actually plot surprise or anything like
Yeah.
that. So.
Exactly. I think there's this movie, not hashtag sponsor at all. It's called Split, where the person has, I think, 24 split personalities. And
Yes.
as a psych person, it's just really interesting to see how they're just like, oh, instead of like doing more so of the jump scares, they're doing more of like the psychological horror, like Black Swan and all that kind of
Yeah.
thing, which is very refreshing to see.
It does look. Yeah, I've seen that advertised. It's James McAvoy, isn't it? It does look very good, but what worries me is that it's M Night Shyamalan who's done it, which means it'll probably go terrible in the last 15 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, they'll have that nice, like, a climax where it'll be like, oh, it's really good horror, and then just, like, kind of pitfall.
Yeah, we'll see. I reserve judgment. It's out next week, I think, so we'll go and see it.
So, for any aspiring writers who might be watching this, what would be your kind of, not guide, but, like, suggestion on getting started as a writer?
Just write things. I know that sounds ridiculous, but I know so many people who talk about writing and they write blogs about writing and they do YouTube videos about writing, but then when someone actually says, oh, so what can I go and read of yours, they don't actually have anything out. And it's kind of like you're advertising a show that you haven't even put on. You can't do that. You need to get a book written, get some articles written, do something so that people can actually go back and look into what you've written. I mean, I've been lucky enough that I've managed to get actual books published that you can walk into shops and buy. That's not always possible, but if you can't do that, you can self-publish things. You can start a platform for yourself on the Kindle and that kind of thing.
Hmm.
Even if a traditional publishing deal isn't possible, which it is very, very difficult to do. I'm aware of that. I got lucky really, but it's not always possible.
Right.
But yeah, just write something. Actually have something that people can go and look at you for.
What is the number one author that you go to besides Poe that you would always like read and kind of like in your mind be like, yeah, that's someone who I aspire to?
That's interesting because I don't really have one that. I mean, is probably Dickens. I read the Christmas Carol particularly. I read that every year at Christmas because to me that is like the perfect ghost story. I know it's a particularly festive story, but to me one of the key elements of the what makes a great ghost story is when you get to the end and you're not entirely sure if it happened. Because that's what makes anything to do with the supernatural unnerving. If you're not convinced it was real, that means you can't convince anyone else that it was real. So that kind of leads to a sort of insanity, which is quite creepy. Whereas again, on the modern films where there's like 50 people see the monster, you don't have that. Whereas you get to the end of Christmas Carol, Scrooge could have dreamt all of that, or it could have happened. There's nothing to suggest that it really happened. And to me, the best ghost stories are like that because it kind of leaves that tint of doubt, and that's scary. So Dickens that particular story is great for that. But I do like him anyway in the way he conjures up a whole world. I mean, when people think about Victorian England, most people think of things they've read in Dickens, which isn't exactly accurate. He kind of romanticised a lot of things. And yet the fact that has replaced historical fact in a lot of people's mind, that's a whole world you've created there. That's really impressive.
It really is, because I even remember reading Dickens in high school, and whenever he would be brought up, like my teacher would just get into gales of laughter because he's over romanticizing too much of history.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that's really
it's
interesting.
true. Yeah.
Because I'm gonna be a little bit honest. I thought that you were going to pick Stephen King. I didn't think you were gonna pick Dickens, which is because like horror, I can see where he would come into horror. He's more of just a classic horror writer, whereas Stephen King is more in your face.
Yeah, that's the other thing is I'm known for horror primarily in the writing community, if you like, but that's not all that I write. The first book that I got published, Nick and Abe, isn't actually a horror book. I don't know how you quantify it really, but it's not. It's a story about God and the devil spending a year on Earth as humans and seeing who can learn the most, really. But it's not a horror story. The next book I'm submitting for publishing is actually a children's book, which is not horror, but it's got elements of that in it for children. But yeah, horror is my favourite genre, but it's not what I always write.
Anything that has horrifying children in it will get me scared automatically. So yes, that would be horrifying for me.
Well, yeah, I mean, my motivation for writing a children's book was that I just like that idea. If you can be somebody's first sort of favourite book, that book, the first book they read on their own as a child, which they remember that always. That if I can be that for somebody, that would be fantastic, even if it's only one person.
Yeah, I can see the good side of that, but I can also see the side of it where, like, oh, mommy, look at the first horror book I picked up. It has zombies in it. Or I can see the really good flip side of that, where they pick up a good, genuine story and they're really thrilled by it. So that's a really good thing because being like I remember the first book I ever read was Shakespeare. And my mom was reading it to me. She was reading, I think, what was it, Romeo and Juliet, and she was like, "Now, honey, these children die, but it was a good kind of death." I'm thinking back now, I'm like, no, no, it was not. They were two stupid teenagers.
Yeah.
So the next question I do have is in writing. Now I know different writers have different processes for writing, but what is your process like? What do you like to do the most to get yourself into the zone for writing?
Well, actually, one of the key things I do is music, to be honest. If I'm writing a particular type of story, I like to get my head into a certain place, and I will generally listen to music just on my own, quietly, with the music on like headphones, to sort of get my head in the zone that it needs to be for that kind of atmosphere, really. That's the sort of thing. And while I'm doing that, I will sort of mentally watch what I'm going to be writing, almost as if I'm watching a film, and then write down what I've just seen.
That's really
so
good.
That's sort of how I go about it.
Any particular artists that you have fancied over the years?
Depends on the story. Completely varies. I mean, my favourite musician is Tom Waits, but it depends what I'm writing as to whether his music will suit it, because that's obviously quite a dark and grim sort of thing. But yeah, it completely varies. But I generally do like to sort of watch it in my head, because it's a great way of sort of knowing how things are going to go, because instead of just sitting and staring at a blank page, I've watched say 5 scenes in a row in my head, so I can then write those 5 scenes, and it kind of avoids that thing where you just sit and you're like, right, I'm going to do 50 pages tonight, and you just sit and stare at the blinking thing on the screen and you can't think of a word.
Exactly. It's just like writer's block. what happened?
Yeah.
Where were you going? Because I know whenever I try to sit down and write something, I'm just like staring at the screen. Sometimes it's like, okay, I'm gonna get, if I get 5 words done, that'll be
Mhm.
okay because then it'll lead to another 5 words, and that, so
Yeah.
that it's all just like one big process. Because I think what was it? Whenever I remember an interview I saw with Stephen King, he was trying to write something, and he said to his wife, "I finally finished writing for the day, and I wrote down 1 word," and she was like, "Wait, what? That's all you did in like the 4 hours that you were writing?" And he was like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
because that's what means a lot, and that's what's going to carry the story is that 1 word." I thought that was absolutely wonderful.
Mm.
So,
No, no, it's good. Yeah, anything that you can do to keep moving. I mean, one of the other things that I've been working on for years, which I've not finished yet, is like a series of books. But I'm planning on having more than one ready before I contact a publisher, because I think if you submit in a series, then the chances are they will want to see the second one before they sign any sort of contract. So I want to have a couple of them ready. And something a technique I've had for that is that if I'm introducing a character sort of in the second or the third book, I don't want them to suddenly seem too one-dimensional. If you read sort of like 3 books with the same characters in, and then a new character suddenly pops in, they're not going to seem as well developed or rounded as these 2 people you've been reading through the other 2 books. So I will sort of write practice stories with that character in purely for the sake of getting a handle on how they talk, how they act, with no intention of ever using those stories. It's just putting them in random situations so that I can get a grip to them. So by the time I put them in the actual book, they've had as much time on them as the people who were in the other book.
that's actually a really good practice methods to be able to like get to know and develop your characters more. I really like that. So since this is a tea talk for our viewers at home, and since I have my lovely cup of tea right here, what kind of tea do you prefer whenever you are writing?
Just tea, black tea with milk. I'm British, so tea, proper tea.
So far, you know what? I take mine with a sprinkle of happiness. Okay. It's weird because I see all sorts of teas, and I see like especially whenever, and this isn't a shot at vegans, so vegans who are watching, I love you, but damn, whenever I'm looking at the tea that they drink it just with extra air. Like they don't, like they just have it straight with no sugar or anything like that. I'm just like, how? You need to have some sort of spice and everything nice in there.
Now, I've tried other teas, but fruit ones and stuff. But I do just like traditional proper tea. I don't even know what that was originally called, but what if you ask for tea in England? There's like one thing people generally mean, and anything else has to have a preface like fruit tea or ginger tea, or if you say tea on its own, that just means tea. That's what I like.
Just like, could I have some tea with some extra tea?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So one last question I have, it's gonna be an interesting one. I mean, not to toot my own horn, but whenever you think of your books, whether it be past or current that you're working on, what character would you want to be, if any, from your books?
Oh, that's interesting. Oh God. Well, see, I usually put my characters through horrible situations, so that's quite. Because I just find that interesting. Have you ever watched a film or read a book where the character's got no kind of drama or anything? I mean, it's nice, but it's boring, isn't it? It's not. It doesn't make for good reading. So it would have to be some character that's in the background that nothing happens to, because if they're one of the main characters, they will no doubt be going through something that I wouldn't want to be going through.
You don't want to get killed or shot or gone through a possession or something. That's
No,
great.
I mean there is one character in the series that I spoke about who, as the book starts, he's already dead. He's a ghost, and he kind of gets to see, because of events that he's got that are unresolved. He kind of gets to see the beginning of the next century, if you like.
I hope you guys enjoyed that interview. It was so much fun to get to interview Lex. Seriously, like I think, what was it, last year in December, we were planning to do the interview because I had never really interviewed that many people before besides like class projects and all that kind of stuff for college. But this was like the first legit interview I've ever done. Silliness was strong with this one, but I will leave his links to his works that he published on Amazon down below so you can check him out and support him and buy the stuff. But I want to give a huge shout out to Lex for doing the interview. You were awesome, dude. Thank you, and I hope we can do an interview or a collab very soon. And don't worry, I will be coming to the UK most definitely. I cannot wait to come and visit there. But that is it for today's Tea Talk. I hope you guys enjoyed the very first Tea Talk of the year. I really am so excited to see where the Tea Talks go. I've been really enjoying this series and I want to see it grow and blossom and become something just more than what it is. I'm planning on, as I said, on interviewing more kinds of different creeds of people, from musicians to different YouTubers to, you know, entrepreneurs, writers, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, if you guys have an idea of who you want me to interview next, let me know down in the comments below. And as always, for any kind of news stories or YouTube news or gaming news that you want to see and you want to tweet it to me, use the hashtag #TeaTalk and I will respond to it and I will talk about it. With that being said, attack that like button. Happy living. Let's do it all together, shall we? Hipster fist it.